Hey, good morning, everyone. Tim here, sitting out on the deck today at mine and Carolyn's house. It's kind of an overcast day today. Um, Actually, it's pretty cool. It's about 71, 72 degrees this morning. So I guess that's cool compared to the hot days we've been having and everything. So I want to thank you guys for coming back and sitting on the porch with me this morning and let me talk to you again. Um, I so look forward each time that I can come and share my and Carolyn's love story with you and about our great life and to encourage you that you can have that same type of life. Doesn't matter what you've gone through or experienced. The important thing to know that there's a great plan for you to succeed in your life and in your love story. And so I was trying to put a rock on my piece of paper I had out here this morning. So um, I want to talk to you about life-changing revelation, and I'm talking about love. I want you to realize that when you understand love and start having the revelation, revelation is being revealed to you. These things, it brings such compassion. It moves with compassion, and also um, love produces power, and power in making right decisions, knowing that you have an agreement. Also, I think on the ladies' side of it, especially when I'm talking about Carolyn today, having that kind of revelation about love and about our life together and everything, it kind of released her. Um, and I'm going to try to explain that a little better. Is it kind of, not kind of, but did release her to accomplish a lot of things. And when I say release, sometimes we're bound up by things that keeps us from having freedom to maybe express ourselves or to see accomplishments come to us because we're bound by certain things. And most time that's fear. Fear binds those things up and keeps you from receiving the things that you're supposed to receive in life. Because remember, you hear me say this multiple times that God gives us love, He gives us protection, and He gives us provision. So we know when we have that type of love, especially the type of love I'm talking about with God, but also secondary, that the type of love that husband and wives have together, it really brings out that person's personality, or frees them to not walking in kind of fear, to know that they're going to be taken care of and protected and watched over. And that's the life that I made for Carolyn, and in turn she made that for me too. A life that didn't hinder us from our own personalities. Carol and I are so much alike in certain areas, but we're so different in our personalities. But being so different in our personalities make it seem like we both have the same personality. And that may be kind of a play on words, but I'm trying to explain to you that if you have the real revelation of love, it gives you power, and then it also moves you to compassion. Where I left off on our story was we had met Colonel Keating, also at the chapel as well, at the church there as well, and we got to be good friends. And remember, I mentioned to you in my last video that to this very day, he and his wife contacts Carolyn and I through a letter, and that's been over 50 years ago. And just kind of May Keating is his wife's name. She always just writes a letter, usually on green paper, small print, but she'll talk about the whole year about what's happening in their family. So see, that's important that you build type relationships like that. That even though we've been separated from them for a long, long time, we're still not separated as far as them wanting to contact us and being in a relationship. You know, when I was praying the other morning, I was, thanking the Lord for my life with Carolyn and where Carolyn is now with him. I couldn't ask for a better scenario or situation for my wife than to be in heaven and be with God and be with Jesus, and offering up prayers for us here. She, my one of my goddaughters, Christy, had made me that plaque. I think maybe I'd showed it to you about. It's actually a picture of the sound waves of Carolyn's voice, and then in that sound wave, it's saying that she's praying for me and that she loves me, and she's doing the same thing for you too. She's in intercession with the Lord over your lives as I'm telling these stories to you and the things we experience. So I hope that encourages you to know that you're being looked after, not only through my conversation but also through Carolyn's prayers now in heaven as well for you. Still have folks that call all the time requesting prayer for certain things, and I think it's such an honor that you give that to us, to entrust us with that, to know that we would pray properly over your situation. And I'm going to be talking more about prayer in your life too. I know some people say, well, I don't need that or whatever in my life, but there will be a time in your life that you wish you would have known how to pray certain ways and how to keep things in perspective for you through prayer, and it also gives you discernment how to deal and how to live this overcoming life. While I was have this piece of paper out here, and with me, I wrote down a few things I'd like to read to you. It says, when we're talking about love that produces power, and that we need love, and love that prevails. And when that love prevails, it's moved by compassion, and then that's what I'm talking about, a life changing revelation, and that's what I'm talking about this morning. It says, and what I wrote down here, it says, when we begin to have that kind of revelation of the love of God, it would change everything about our lives. Just think of that. It would change everything about your lives. And it did this in my life, in mine and Carolyn's life. It would change everything about your lives. Love won't be just an action you take anymore. It would be the very fabric of our hearts and lives. Our hearts will be knitted together in Christ Jesus. That's the way it was for mine and Carolyn's relationship and our love for one another. And that's what I'm talking to you about, that you can and will have that type of relationship too. And what I wrote down here was that's the very fabric of our heart and our lives. See, love is the principal thing. I talked about several videos back about how important love is and why we need love, especially not just especially, but in the times that we live in, because I don't hear too much about love. I don't hear much about love at all. I hear about the mistreatment that I face, or generations this and that through these protests and all that. And I understand protests are okay as far as it is for a valid reason, but a lot of times these things are done without even knowing why it's being done, and a lot of times it's done by outside players and people that are paid to do those things, just keep things in turmoil. I'm not paid to do these videos for you, to talk to you about these things, but I think it's so important that this is my mission and my mandate for the rest of my life, to talk about love and how I can help you get to that, that place and that position in your life. So I hope you understand that love, again, won't be just an action anymore. It will be the very fabric of our hearts and our lives. I wrote a couple other things down I'd like to read to you. I have so many things that go through my heart and my mind to talk to you about, that some things I do write things down so I can can remember those as well. I have a great memory. I have a great recall. I've always had that. Carolyn was always one that could put the pencil and paper and pen and write things down, and I was always the one to talk, I guess. And even though that sometimes maybe it's hard to understand me or the way my voice sounds or whatever. So anyhow, that's what we do in our lives, is to continue to show you and illustrate love to you and give you these funny stories and examples of how we overcame by love in every situation that we dealt with in our lives. I got a couple more things I'd like to read to you this morning. It said, we're talking about love. Love refers to something discovered through personal encounter and living contact. It refers to the kind of intimacy relationship that makes two people one. So, once you discover this and have the personal encounters and living encounters, personal encounters like mine and Carolyn's relationship, living encounters were the encounters that we had with other people, through our story here that I'm talking to you about. And so I want you to, hopefully you heard those things. The good thing about tapes, you can back it up and hear it again. Love is more interested in meeting someone's needs than in analyzing what's behind it. Love is more interested in helping to resolve someone's problem than it is in figuring out who is to blame for it. So, when you have problems and everything, and those problems come to you, you want to blame the situations or whatever, and I understand that too. But when we are in relationship with you and people, we were in relationship with each other, we were more interested, and I'm more interested in you than what I need at the time. And then it's a law in itself too, that when I pray for people, I get prayer in return. See, it's always that giving. That's why I said in one of the videos, it's more blessed to give than it is to receive. And giving is a greater thing too, because understand the law that when you give of something, that's what you receive back. When you give love and show love to people, even though they may not appreciate it or they may not even know what you're doing, it doesn't really matter. It's that you're sowing that in people's lives. And see, from the very, very beginning of mine and Carolyn's relationship, I didn't know this, but I was sowing the kind of relationship that our relationship in our life came out to be. So you're always planting seeds. So we always want to plant seeds of love. Now, will some of those seeds will be received? Sometimes they're not. But the important thing is that you can continue to sow those things into people's lives. I've seen people that wanted to treat us bad and even talked about us or whatever, and that didn't matter to me. The important thing was that I was showing forth, and Carolyn and I were showing forth the type of love that we wanted to receive. So you've heard the old saying, "What goes around comes around." You want to sow love because you want love to come back around to you, regardless if that person doesn't accept it or receive it or whatever. You're still sowing that seed. And when you sow seeds, understanding the relationship a farmer has with planting crops. When he plants a certain kind of crop, then that's the certain kind of plant that comes up, right? He doesn't plant a seed for peas and get a watermelon. He doesn't do that. When he plants seeds for peas, he gets peas. When we plant love seeds, that's what we get. We get love in return. So understand that. I'm trying to teach you how to be a farmer this morning or whatever. It says, love stands up for you, then you are truly released. Woman, you are loose. Man, you are loose. When those seeds are planted and then love begins to stand up for you, you're truly released. See, that's why Carolyn was receiving so much favor as well as in her life that we had planted that seed within ourselves, and now we're planting seed into people. I'm planting the love seed into you, and what I expect to get back from you is love, and you're going to produce love to be seeded to someone else. I don't plant seeds that don't come up. I don't plant seeds that I don't get a harvest from. I plant seeds, and when I say that I'm planting seeds of love in you, I will get a harvest of love that will come back out of what I planted. So I want you to understand that it's a life-changing revelation when you understand that. So, with the way it was in mine and Carolyn's life, is that now meeting Colonel Keating, actually Carolyn had worked with their daughter in the children's ministry there at the church, and we were involved in that. And like I said, love stands up for you. And I just kind of give you an example. One Sunday morning, Carolyn and I had gotten up and get ready to go to church, and of course, remember I said at that time we had sold our car, we didn't have a car, so we was back riding the bus. So we called the bus down at our street. We got out, and there's a time that these would run and everything, and we got up that morning, got dressed, got down to the bus stop as fast as we could to catch the early bus. We had gotten there just a few minutes late, and we saw the bus pull off. So here we were standing waiting for the next bus, and this car was coming up the road, and I recognized the car. It was an officer that I knew. It was a first lieutenant, and his family were going to church. They knew Carolyn and I, and here we were standing at the bus stop, and they saw us standing there, and they drove right on by us, like they didn't even see us. And I know they did, because the wife had waved and the kids had waved, and they just drove right on past us, So we didn't think much of that, thought, well, maybe they're in a hurry, whatever, get to church or whatever. So what it comprised was that we ended up being a little bit late to church, and so Carolyn was teaching the class with the Keating's daughter, and she got reprimanded by this person, not recommended, reprimanded by this person that had passed us up on the road and seen us standing there, and actually kind of ate Carolyn out a little bit about being late. If you're going to do this, then you need to be on time, and so forth and so on. And so I wasn't there when that happened, but I understood that I could tell that it affected Carolyn, by the scolding that she got for being late. And so I could tell when she came to me, because I knew Carolyn in and out. Like I said, I knew things that triggered her emotions and things, and I was always being protective of her, and that's where my love would stand up for her in all those situations. Well, I asked her what was wrong, and she was kind of reluctant to tell me, because I guess she was afraid that I would respond to it, and she was right, and so she eventually told me what was going on, and so I kind of checked my attitude there and got myself under composure about it, because I didn't let anyone touch my wife, insult my wife, or scold my wife, or like that. We always try to handle it diplomatically and walk in love as we should. But the Bible says you can be angry and sin not. And so I was really angry about this, because this person didn't have no right to do this. So Carolyn told me, and so immediately, maybe not immediately, but I thought about what I would say and things like that, and be in control, because most of my life I've been a man that's been under control about my emotions and my speech and my demeanor towards people. And so Carolyn had told me what went on, and I could see it was almost to the point that she would cry about it, but I think probably she did before she came and talked to me. So she told me, and so I went in and confronted this person for doing this. And Carolyn was afraid for me because this person was an officer and could have caused problems for me. You know, he was one of the officers to the next billet from us, not in our company, but in the company right there in the same area where we were at. And you know, sometimes when people have ranks and things like that, they kind of use those to bully people around. I can understand that to a point about in leadership being staunch and being rigid about certain things like that, but not taking the authority that you have and being belligerent about it. So I went and talked to him about it, and I told him, I said, you owe my wife an apology. And he said, well, why? And he looked at me, and I said, because of what you said to her. I said, I'm trying to be as respectful as I possibly can to you, but I don't allow things like that to happen to my wife. And so what was happening, the love that I had for Carolyn was beginning to stand up for her. And I wanted her to be released from this situation. Now you say, well, that's not really a bad situation. And it's not, to the point of other things we face in life. But you have to start taking care of those things. You know, you have to start taking care of the small things that when you have to confront a large thing or something that it's going to really take an effort to overcome, then if you have, I don't want to say practice, but you've had experience with the smaller situations, then it becomes easier for you to deal with something that may be even worse. But to Carolyn's mind, and it could possibly have been a real problem with me being, someone would maybe say, being so combative and confronting this person being an officer and me being an enlisted person, that I could have really got in trouble. You know, I could have lost some rank or whatever by doing this. But I thank the Lord that He always kind of gives me words, not kind of, does give me words to say the situation, and you can rectify situations, things, without being irate, totally upset, and under control. And so I confronted this gentleman, and I told him, I said that he didn't have any right to treat my wife that way. Well, you were late. If you were gonna be part of what we're doing, I said, sir, I said you passed us right there, standing by the bus stop, and you could have stopped and picked us up, and we could have rode with your family that one day. You saw us standing there. You saw us waiting on the bus, and we had to wait for that transportation to get to the church. Well, that's no excuse. I said, I'm not making an excuse. I'm just telling you the facts of what had happened. And I said, and you upset my wife, and I don't allow anything to upset my wife. You know, in any situations, I always go and confront it. So I'm confronting you today that you owe Carolyn an apology, that you shouldn't have acted that way. You shouldn't have been ugly towards her. And he said, well, do you know who you're talking to? I said, I definitely know, sir, who I'm talking to. I'm talking not as a person that's in rank with you. I'm talking man to man to you about how you acted towards my wife. And he said, well, we'll have to consider this more and take it under thought or whatever, you know. And I said, that's fine. I said, but I would appreciate it if you would go and apologize to my wife about this thing that occurred. Well, I don't really have to apologize. I said, I know. Yeah, you don't really have to, but I'm asking you to. I think that would be the courteous thing to do, you know, and if something wasn't our fault, you know, and if you don't want us to be part of this class and help teach the kids, that's fine too. You just let the chaplain know, and then he can get somebody else to help you. I said, we're always here. We always do our very best. We always love the kids. We love people. And so you did wrong, and again, I know that you should apologize to Carolyn. Well, we'll see. And so I left the room, you know. I got outside the door, and then all of a sudden it kind of came over me, kind of flushed my face. It said, "Man, you were you were reprimanding an officer, and him being us." But I thought inside of me, I'm representing my family and my wife and the situation. I'm not representing my rank being a man under authority. I understand that exactly. And so I told Carolyn what I did, and she was kind of she was upset about that, in the sense that she was afraid that I was going to get in trouble over this. So she loved that as well, even though she was having those feelings. She loved it that I stood up for her, and that's what love does. Love stands up for the one that they love. And remember, I told you, love never fails. Love never gives up. Love never gives into defeat, because it always wins. It always wins. And so we would get about ready to leave, and this gentleman, this officer, came out and said, "Mr. Rivers, I need to see you for a minute," and he said it kind of in a gruff voice. I knew he was trying to keep his position of authority. I understood that. I didn't approach him in front of someone else. You never, when you need to talk out things to people, you never want an audience. You never want to do it in front of people. I've had guys that's worked for me for years and years and years, and I had this one gentleman that he kind of wanted to reprimand me in front of the customer, and so I got him away from the customer, and I read in the Riot Act about how you act in front of people. I said, first of all, you never put someone down or talk someone down in front of someone else. And I said, and you better not ever do that again, or you will not work for me, because we don't do those things, And it's the same way with him. I didn't come before a bunch of people and wanted to act like I was, bad about, being able to gripe him out. I wasn't griping him out. I wanted him to think about what he did, and he was unjust in the way he acted. So he said, again, he said to Caroline, "Miss Carolyn, I need to," and not Miss Carolyn, that's what everybody calls Carolyn, "Miss Rivers, I need to see you for a minute alone." And she said, she looked at me, and I said, "It'll be okay, it'll be fine." And she knew that, again, when love stands up for you, that releases you. So Carolyn knew that I loved her, and that I went on her behalf to express that I didn't like what had happened, and to express that it something that may have hurt her feelings at the moment. So Carolyn went into the meeting with this person, and then she came out later, and I could tell something had changed in Carolyn's countenance, and the way she was looking. And she came to me and she said, "I love you." And I say, "I love you too." She said, "You stood up for me, and you could have got in trouble. You could have hurt us all." I said, "Baby, love never gives up. It stands up for you." And she said, "I feel such a release. I feel such a freedom." She said, "He apologized to me and said, 'Miss Rivers, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have acted that way. I did see y'all. I drove right on by y'all. I was inconsiderate, And Carolyn told him, said, "It's okay. It's okay. Sir, it's really okay." And he said, "My hat's off to your husband to come in and talk to me like that." And he wasn't intimidated at all to talk to me about what had happened to you, and the way I acted to you, and I ask you to forgive me. And she said, "It's okay, I forgive you." And he said, next time I see y'all at the bus stop, I'll stop and pick y'all up." And she said, "Well, normally we're not ever late, and that's what, hurt me. It was not just the things you said. It was implying that I didn't care because I wasn't there on time, and that's not so. Sir, we do care about what we're trying to do, trying to teach these children and things like that. And so he apologized, and then, like I said, when Carolyn came out, she told me that, you know, I love you, and you stood up for me, and I feel so released. I feel so, you know, free that, you know, it doesn't matter what I encounter, that you'll be there and stand up for me. And I want to tell you that love stands up for you. God stands up for you. My words are standing up for you. And love is standing up for you. You know, and that's a powerful thing. It's a powerful revelation that you need to understand, that God stands up for you. He loves you. He's willing to confront the situations for you. You know, it could have been bad. It could have turned out the wrong way. But what I began to talk about, sowing the things. I was trying to sow into him the love that I had for my wife, and that I was willing to stand up for her, even in front of someone that could have really hurt us and that could really cause some problems for us. And I know it was God that went before me, you know, and so understand that love will stand up for you. And when love stands up for you, then it gives you such a release. You know, it was almost like, you know, Carolyn she knew that the love that I had for her, the love that God had for her, that she could overcome every situation. And she did. She overcome every situation in life. Love had freed her to be free and not to walk in any kind of fear and in intimidations at all. Now, did we have things that come and try to bring fear to us and intimidations to us? Yeah, we did, throughout our whole life. But when you have a revelation of love, how love stands up for you, then you'll be overcome any type of situation that you have. You got to have the right temperament about it. You got to have the right conversation about it. You got to be able to deliver it properly. I was always able, and still to this day, able to reprimand people that worked for me if they needed to be reprimanded. But they took the reprimanding correctly. They knew that I wasn't coming against them to belliger them or to put them down, that I was trying to correct the situation and would make a better outcome for them as well as the situation. And that's what love does. That's what love does. It helps you. I want you to have a revelation of that. Those things you've experienced in life, they come to push you down. Love comes to stand up for you, and to release you so you're not bound by those things anymore.